Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. So this is the third time that I'm making this cast. Third time's the charm, right? I'll explain why in a little bit, but we got a 5v5, team 1 up at the top, team 2 down at the bottom, and it is going on, I don't even think I need to say this, but Neuroxis map generator, because, you know, if I could find more games that were on other maps that were any good, I would do it, but Neuroxis seems to be like the flavor of the year so far. So anyway, if you want me to cast a particular game, go ahead and shoot it my way. My Discord handle's down in the description below. But let's go ahead and introduce our players. Starting with the northernmost position, we've got Kramer, who's going land as the Cybran. He's probably looking at how he can steal food out of Jerry's fridge, but, you know, we'll leave that for another day. Next, we've got Seal Force, who's going Seraphim, opening first land. To the west, we have got in what I believe is the rearguard air position, because Kramer's going to be expanding that way. Yeah. So we've got Kavat, who's going to be going UEF first land, second air. Down to the southeast, we have C2118 Freedom, who was actually in the last cast, I think, too. Dude's everywhere. But he's going Cybran, opening first land, second air. And down to the south, last but not least, for team number 1, we've got Skuz, who's going Aeon, opening first land, working on the Hydro. How unfortunate that he has picked the Aeon faction, but, you know, we'll see how he does. Next, starting with team number 2, we've got Lord of K, or no, sorry, Lufo K. I don't know what that actually means. It looks like French with a little bit of Spanish. But he's going Seraphim, opening first land. To his east, we've got Zeratu, who's going Cybran, opening first land, second air, it would appear. And down to the southeast, we've got Dorset going UEF, opening first land, second air. In the rearguard air position for team number 2, we've got Snowy 801, who's going Cybran, opening first air. And last but not least for the game, another disgusting Aeon, we have Furfur. And he's going first land and looks like, I don't know, second or third air, and then a lot of land around this Hydro. He's actually got himself 2 hydrocarbons. I'm sure Snowy is real happy about that, being in the air position. Building air without a Hydro is way harder than building air with a Hydro. But anyway, yeah, so third time I made this cast. I'm kind of a tinkerer whenever it comes to like tech stuff, so I really like to try out new technology. And anyway, one of the things that I really wanted to try out was the Intel Arc video cards for AV1 encoding and decoding. So I slotted an A380 in as my secondary GPU below the 3060 Ti, and it doesn't work great as a secondary GPU for video and audio, or for video encoding. So if y'all were thinking about doing that, give it a while, because I think there are some plugins for OBS and things like that that are going to start making that a little bit more viable. But right now I've run into nothing but errors, from my recorder crashing to not having audio to there being just really choppy video playback, etc. But Skuz making a drop here on the southern plateau. 6 engineers, no tanks or artillery, so pure build power there. Gets to work on a land factory, and it looks like Snowy is going to be the one doing the drop for his team down at the south. And Furfur may be going for a distance build. I'm not 100% sure. He doesn't have a move order, but his commander is out further forward. So Snowy's going to drop. And we also have Freedom dropping as well. So that's going to be 2 players versus 1 on the plateau. And more importantly for team number 1, both Freedom and Skuz land players with mexes with additional mexes to fuel kind of the war machine down here. Freedom even doing like a drop queue to get all of the mexes relatively quickly. So team number 1, not only do they have 2 players here, but they're 2 players that want to be spending mass on land. Whereas for team number 2, it's Snowy that's actually making the drop, and he wants to be spending stuff on air. He doesn't want to have to be contesting land on this plateau a ton. Not to mention, it's just more difficult from an APM perspective. And up at the northern side, we've got Zeratu making a drop on this plateau, and then a sequence of drops to secure the mass back here in this little valley. And then Dorset actually making a drop for the northern plateau. So it looks like the northern corner going to go to team number 2. And while the southern corner is, contested for now, Snowy's got 1 land factory to the 5 of team number 1. And Snowy's also going to lose some engineers there. So I don't think Snowy's going to be on this plateau for very long. As I had a little voice crack, which is great. Gun range coming in for Furfur. We probably should have looked at, I don't know. Distance building here might have been a better idea. But he's going for, looks like pure main lane domination. There's a couple Tech 1 units running into Freedom's commander. Going to get batted down from Lufoke. I don't know if I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And little T1 raid coming in as well from Seal Force. Zeratu's commander not in a great position from an ability to defend against this raid. Matter of fact, he's got next to no T1 land. And actually, whenever I said next to no, I actually know T1 land would be a better statement. So Zeratu gonna lose this forward mechs cluster, and yeah, there's nothing in this base that is gonna stop him. No PD. Factories are, one factory is just now starting to produce Mantis, but you know, you got at least he has a gunship that's doing some harassment. Interceptors, though, from Seal Force now getting called over to, well, intercept, because that's what they do best. But luckily for Zeratu, there's only 1 artillery piece, and it's pretty far back. So he does at least have a little bit of time. These tanks aren't going to deal a ton of building damage. But what they will be able to do is kill off a lot of these engineers, and losing build power early in the game is no fun. Engineers go to work on a point defense, which should go up, I believe. Yeah, it's 100% going up. Engineers aren't dying off quite fast enough, so point defense is going to go up. That is going to be the saving grace here for Zeratu, although he's going to lose a lot of power. He lost all of his engineers that were there building it. Seal Force moves for kind of a redeploy and now focuses down the PD, actually, and he might have enough tanks to be able to take this out. He does have enough tanks to be able to take this out. Gunship now in from Snowy. That's a pretty rough raid. You're losing a lot of build power there. I know I said that a few times, but you know, it's still just as true now as it was the first time I said it. Yeah, engineer's going to go down. We know how that's going to play out. He's going to lose all of his engineers, maybe a couple more P-gens, and then the raid will get mopped up. Meanwhile, Dorset tangling with Seal Force's, I guess, follow-up wave here. And even a ghetto gunship now coming in from Furfur. Going in on Seal Force's commander. And those flares going to do a pretty hefty amount of damage. Although there are interceptors here from Seal Force, and I don't see any interceptors. Well, okay, here they come now from Furfur. So going to have to fend off these enemy interceptors as Seal Force now drops below 6,000 HP. But I think this ghetto is going to die. It's going to bag itself some more build power, though. It's trying to get an AA up. That's going to be it for that ghetto gunship. And more interceptors actually coming in from Kavat as well. Gun upgrade now for Freedom. Tech 2 on Lufo K. And actually Furfur going for advanced range. Skuz also going for advanced range. Both of these have the basic speed and range upgrades. I haven't seen advanced range before. I think that, well, I've seen it twice before now, but before this game I had never seen it. So I'm assuming all it does is it just makes the range even longer. So Aeon really leaning into that range advantage on their commander. That's going to be so stinking annoying to deal with. Can you get advanced range and Chrono? Or is Chrono still even a thing? Yeah, you can. Jeez. Advanced range gun and Chrono. That's going to be terrible, as somebody already wants to call for recall. Somebody's already like, yeah, this game's over. I don't think this game's over. Zeratu gonna get caught out in his base. He's on an upgrade, probably gun. There are a good number of Zuis here, so Zeratu's gonna take a lot of damage unless he goes ahead and cancels that upgrade. And hasn't canceled it yet. There we go. T2. So he was on a Tech 2 upgrade and ends up canceling it. Seal Force here with the Vanilla Commander. Same with Zeratu. And this is going to be kind of a Pyrrhic victory here for Seal Force, but he will take out all of the manufacturing up here, or at least he should, unless he just backs away. Probably could have left the artillery here, especially because he's got support from Kramer, who's, you know, done a pretty good job of raiding Jerry's fridge up there to get some extra resources. And Furfur now with that advanced range upgrade pushing in against Skuz's advanced range upgraded commander. Snowy is in tow, but Snowy with only a vanilla commander. Only so much he's going to be able to offer on this engagement. Furfur going to drop back now. Does take out a good number of tanks. Does lose a good number of tanks of his own, though. As both Seal Force and Kramer. Seal Force actually going for a gun upgrade of his own. Kramer with a gun upgrade. And Zeratu now at least has some Tech 1 forces. And Dorset here. Dorset, I guess, playing air as well. Because I don't really see a whole lot of Tech 1 presence from Dorset. So kind of going for the 2 air player play from Team 2. As Zeratu now goes for a gun upgrade of his own. And hello, Furfur deciding to go for maybe a trade here, although I don't think he's going to make it. As Skuz dropping down. Oh, but Furfur switches targets. He may have lost vision. If Furfur had not switched targets there, Skuz might have gone down. But it looks like Furfur lost vision or had to switch targets. And Janus coming in from Kavat certainly not helping, as Janus now going in on Snowy's commander. And that's weird. The Janus missed their first drop. The drops subsequent seem to be doing fine. But that's a weird little interaction. Looks like the Janus first drop on a target is going to miss. Which seems like it shouldn't happen. I don't know. I'm no expert. That seems like something you wouldn't want to happen. Either way, Snowy is... I was going to say in trouble, but Kavat seems to be calling off the dogs from the Januses. And now Kramer has completely rebuilt this base and or captured it from Zeratu. We do have Ilsha is now out from Seal Force going in on Zeratu's comm. Does get a nice overcharge down on a few of them. But this is going to be 2 gun comms versus 1 gun comm. Zeratu's still working with that vanilla commander. Which is so going to mean that not only... Well, actually, I was going to say that Team 2 was down on units as well, but they do have some Ilshivas in this mix. And Kramer venturing forward and just taking... I don't think he realized how many T1 units there were here, as the HP on that commander just absolutely evaporates. Even with there being 2 gun comms, Kramer is going to be out of here. And Zeratu is going to say thank you very much for that comm donation. See you next time. Kramer, though, was the lowest rated player on team number 1. So... And with this being full share, Kavat, who is the highest rated player on team number 1, is going to be getting that. He's going to be the beneficiary of that. Although, what's going to hurt a little bit worse is Seal Force actually looking like he's going to go down here as well. Dorset making a move with that vanilla commander. Janus now coming in to drop. But once again, the first drop of the Janus not landing. And if that had actually landed, Dorset, I think, would be in a much worse position here. I mean, he's not in a great position, but at least the Ilshivas, well, yeah, they're going to get scared off a little bit. Both Dorset and Zaratu very low on HP. But because the Janus seem to be kind of iffy on whether or not they actually want to hit their targets, Dorset's going to, I think he's going to survive here. There's still 4 Janus left. So we'll see how well Dorset can dodge. It's a lot harder to dodge Janus than any of the other fighter bombers. As he drops down under 1,000 HP. Kavad actually giving up the ghost there. Does still have 2 Janus left, but I guess didn't want to commit them. Although I'm not sure what else you're going to do with them, because we're 15 minutes into the game. Tech 3 Air is, yeah, coming out from Snowy. So your Janus are going to be basically worthless here in about, 2 minutes. Maybe even 30 seconds as soon as this Gemini gets into range. Yeah. So, I don't know. I would have stayed on Dorset. Maybe you get the kill, maybe you don't. But, and maybe that's why he does have now an ambassador coming out to spark some diplomatic relations here with team number 2. But I think the ambassador is going after Zaratu. Does he not have a... So he lost the read on Dorset's comm, which that sucks. Because Dorset, I think is 1 bomb. I think 1 bomb does about 2,000 damage. So he could 1 past Dorset, but because he doesn't know where Dorset is, ASF are going to be in position and going to take out that strat before it gets the opportunity. So, yeah. Radar and scouting. They're important, kids. And if you've ever seen me play, you should know that I'm the worst about radar and scouting. Speaking of radar and scouting, we do have a nice little TML installation here. It's got itself 1 kill and soon to be 2 on Tech 2 Mexes from Snowy. And there's another missile away. 1 rank of veterancy, 2,200 mass killed. It's not a bad day in the life of a tactical missile launcher. How much does a TML have to pay itself back? Let's look real quick. So a TML costs, where is it? And I know I'm on Seraphim right now. I believe it's the same cost. Hello, tactical missile launcher, 825 mass. And then every missile costs mass. I think it's 100 mass per missile. So this TML already paid for itself by 3x. Which is great, if you're a bean counter there in Freedom's economy. He's got some accountants back there that are like, yeah, well, if we do this tactical missile launcher, it's going to have to pay us back 3x, and the ROI is what would it be? The total cost of, no. Shit. I'm it's amazing I have a job. Return on investment would be, 5 minutes. Although there's total cost of ownership, which is I think total cost of ownership is when you recoup your losses, or you recoup your upfront investment, and then return on investment is what the overall return on the investment is going to be, I think. Very possible that I'm wrong, though. As it is with a lot of things. Now we got some fire basing coming in from Kavat. And mobile missile launchers under shield. And no TMD just yet. Shield generators coming up, but he's going to lose one of these point defense. That's for sure. 3rd mobile missile launcher shows up. And Kavad actually looking to make an advance at the same time as there is an advance on Loaf of K by Scuzz. Scuzz with that shield upgrade now on his commander. Loof only with Tech 2 and gun. So his commander's a little bit beefier, but not as beefy as Scuzz's. Although I think with the gunships, which Loof is now at Tech 3 Air, so there's like multiple Tech 3 Air players now. Skuz will have overreached, and Loof makes it out of there with 3,600 HP. Which is, you know, that's a good thing for Team 2. Bad thing for Team 1. But that means now that it is 2 versus 4. With Kavat and Freedom, 2 of the higher rated players still alive for team number 1, but all of the highest rated players alive still for team number 2. It seems like just about everybody is playing air though on team 2. We have Loof, Snowy, and Dorset all at Tech 3 Air. Not sure whether that was part of the game plan or if all these guys just really wanted to play air. Seems like most of the time I get into a game, nobody wants to play air. And so I end up playing air, which is a disaster. Although, I mean, if we're real, it's a disaster if I play land too, so pick your poison. You know, do you want to get strat sniped, or do you want to see me go too far forward 10 minutes into the game and commit suicide? Choice is yours anytime you join one of my games. But his point defense is going to go down though, which is going to be good for Zeratu. As Zeratu would very much like to kind of reconnect this northern position that he has here. Doesn't want that to get boxed out because this is the primary mass advantage, or at least mass advantage from a mech's perspective, that Team 2 has still. They've lost this plateau entirely. Although if you look at the investment overall, all of these mechs I think are Tech 2 for Freedom. And if you look at Zeratu's are all Tech 1. I don't think he has any of these Tech 2. They're starting to upgrade now, but they're not at Tech 2 yet. Dorset, okay, so his mechs are Tech 2, but this is probably where a lot of this mass difference is coming from, as Team 1 is up by about 70k mass. And it's probably coming down to the infrastructure that was invested down here by both Skuz and Freedom. Got a nice little Ilshiva raid though. That's going to take out some of the mexes here for Freedom. And I'm hearing bricks fire. So Freedom now at Tech 3 land. Looks like Kavat is as well. Kavat with 3 different factions he's managing. He's got his UEF original, he's got Seraphim, and he's got Cybran, inherited from Kramer and Seal Force. He's going to try and make a push here. We do have Zeratu with some point defense down, as these Tech 2 point defense just kind of, you know, tickle away. Fire rate for the Cybran Tech 2 PD is of course quite good. Overall damage is, you know, abysmal. And Dorset now with a gun upgrade on his commander is going to face off here. I think this is a little bit too far forward though. There are Loyalists and Bricks in this mix. And Dorset, even though he has Nano, that is a dangerous fight to just walk into and start overcharging away. And he recognizes that, kind of peels north, as Restorer is now coming in from Loaf of What, or Loaf of K. I'm going to call him Loaf from here on out. Even still, Dorset taking a good amount of damage. Well, he was taking a good amount of damage. There are enough point defense here from multiple different factions, though, as well as Loyalists out from Zeratu. That actually, I take that back. Dorset, where did his HP go? Man, I like looked at him 1 second. He was like at 14,000 HP. And I was like, hey, he looks like he's going to be okay. He just needs to kind of keep kiting and overcharging. And then I say like one sentence about point defense and gut chips, and he's at 2k HP. Your comms can get beefy, guys, but, you know, whenever you're stacking up against bricks and siege tanks and sniper bots and chickens, you know, they can die real quick, even with nano and shield and other things. That's the second player that kind of got a health upgrade on his comm and overestimated it this game. We had Skuz down here with the shield upgrade a little bit earlier. Now Dorset with the nano. UEF nano not as good as the other nano. or as Seraphim Nano. I actually don't know about Cybern Nano. I probably need to do like a refresher science video on. So there have been a couple of comm changes. We just saw advanced range. Cybern, I think, now has Nano of some sort. So I probably need to do like a refresher science video on some of the changes with commanders since the last time I looked at them, which was, God, probably 2 years ago now. Which is good because I've been like struggling for science video topics that have like enough meat on them to actually make a video. Which is why you see like 5 weird things you might not have known about FAF. All those things are like 1 minute long topics, but you string them all together, they can kind of make a video that most people seem to like. But anyway. Now we've got Loaf of What has taken over Dorset's base. He's also got Furfur's base. So Loaf of What is playing 3 positions right now. And has kind of gotten himself out of the air game. I think he's left air up to Snowy and realized he needs to play land. Is he still making... No, he's got his Restorer. This was his Restorer factory. So he's got that on pause at least. He's getting a point defense line set up for, you know, the impending pile of bricks that's going to be thrown at his head here in a couple of minutes from freedom. Actually reorienting. This is probably a little bit better than just drawing like a huge line. But Zeratu has been struggling to get this portion of the map locked down, and it's looking like Kavat is going to be able to take that right now. Zeratu's been kind of under pressure from both Freedom and Kavat at the same time. And down here at the bottom, we now have bricks coming in from Freedom. Freedom playing, once again, kind of all over the place. And this is going to be a whole lot of very sad engineers here in a couple minutes. Although the gunships coming in, you know, these will die eventually. As we start to see an air engagement kick off here, Kavat seems to be positioning. But the amount of restorers that Loof has is actually kind of leveling the playing field a little bit. Snowy's outgunned from an ASF perspective. But the restorers do actually have decent AA. And you can kind of see here, Kavat is starting to run out of ASF. As Snowy wins that air engagement, even though I think he had fewer ASF going in. But the bricks will march on. They massacred a bunch of civilians here. It looks like they're going to get a T3 power generator as well. Which, I don't know if this push was 100% worth it. Up here at the top, this push is looking, well, kind of similar. This time their gunships, though, are on the side of Team 1, as we've got broadswords from Kavat harassing. And ASFs from Snowy are going to be quick to intercept here. Going to absolutely eviscerate those broadswords, but doesn't want to get too close. There's a lot of SAMs. There's a lot of bouncers out from Freedom. And Snowy took his eye off the ball. It's going to lose way more ASF than he needs to here. I think he just lost half his Air Force to mobile and static AA, which, you know, that feels bad, man. Feels bad for sure. The chicken now out from Loaf is loafing its way in. Aha. I'm a terrible human being. I would make a joke like that. I should be canceled immediately. Banned from YouTube. But a good number of bricks here from... Geez, how many bricks is this for Freedom? It seems like a lot. 22. That should be enough to deal with this chicken. And there is a crab back here. So that's going to make it even more difficult for this chicken to really get anything done. Although if the bricks don't engage and they just sit here and take pot shots, you let the chicken have a lot of leeway. Or maybe he just doesn't want to engage and wants to deal with it with the crab. As there was an attempted gunship run. And actually the gunship run did bag a couple of mexes. And Snowy going to be in an air engagement. As the chicken now gets passed over to Zeratu, which goes toe-to-toe with the crabs. And this is going to go pretty well for the crabs. You know, if you send your cock in unprotected, you always risk having an issue with crabs. And even still, even with it being protected, I mean, he's got a lot of bricks here. Unfortunately, there's more bricks for Kavat supporting the crabs than there are bricks for Zeratu supporting the chicken. So, you know, that's a bummer there for Zeratu. And, you know, at this point, this force, I think with that crab could kind of just walk in and start dealing some more infrastructural damage here to Zeratu. Meanwhile, Freedom once again pushing the southern side of the map. And despite going down 3 players, Team 1 playing very well. And I know that there are going to be a lot of critics of full share out there. And to critics of full share, I've got 2 main things to say. Number 1, it's not as easy as it looks, even if you have full share. And number 2, and this is probably the most important one, every single decent game that I see is full share. So if you hate full share so much, send me some decent no share games. I'm happy to cast them. I have nothing against no share. But every no share game that I watch is just like a snipe fest that ends in 30 minutes because, you know, either one team loses like 2 comms and then just decides to give up, or the other team loses 2 comms and then just decides to give up in like the first 10 minutes. So yeah, if you got some good no share games, send them my way. But everything I see hitting the FAF channel, everything I see that I'm able to find from a replay perspective whenever I go through the vault and look for myself, is all full share games, or at least partial share. But Chicken now coming in against Bricks. Broadswords in support. That Chicken needs to turn. There we go. Okay. Needs to be able to get all its guns trained on the targets. But even still, the Chicken should be able to deal with this. As long as it doesn't run away like that and can only shoot like one of its guns, and the one gun that it can shoot is the weakest one. But actually the Strat's coming in. That was a nice little touch. A little cherry on top there for Loof. So that push gonna get batted away. Now it looks like the push that Kavat was trying to run up top also gonna run into it. Also gonna stall out whenever it runs into these Ravagers. Even with the Megalith there from Freedom, Ravagers are no joke. I guess that's one solution to crabs. If you know, your chicken suffers from crabs, set the Ravagers loose on it. Strats are going to go down. Snowy's air in a little bit of a rough position, but to respond to that quickly. And Snowy once again down on the ASF count, which, you know, I mean, I guess it's not super surprising because Snowy's working with only 1 base here. But he is making sure that the planet is clean. So he's out here reclaiming quite a bit of what should be Loof's mass, because Loof is the one that killed all of it with his chicken. But Snowy's like, yeah, you know, I'll help myself to that. I don't really know if the same rules apply for reclaim, unless you're like blatantly taking somebody else's starting reclaim. But now we got crabs of our own out for team number 2. It's the best way to fight crabs is get some crabs of your own. It's amazing I'm employed anywhere. But ASF now out for freedom, so Snowy now 2 versus 1 in the air. As ASF coming out from both of the players on team number 1. Freedom got himself a nice little tidy air grid here. Same with Kavat. Kavat hasn't been... It doesn't look like he's focusing as much on air as he is on land. He's actually got a megalith under construction here. And he's got huge fire bases getting set up with around these kind of mechs, perimeter mexes with a ton of Tech 2 shield generators. This is an interesting approach to shielding. I mean, these are the cheapest and they are the fastest to build, so I guess something is better than nothing. Either that or he just clicked his Cybern engineers and was like, build me shields, I need shields now. And SMD is actually now coming up for freedom. And I just saw this nuke down here in the corner. Little sneaky nuke out there from Loof, but I'm pretty sure it's been scouted. Yep, it has 100%. Well, they don't know it's a nuke yet, but maybe Freedom is just hedging his bets and is like, there's got to be a nuke out there somewhere. We're 32 minutes into the game against 3 1700 level players. They've got to be building a nuke. As the megalith now starts to engage the enemy. But this is a lot of Tech 3, and a lot of these are loyalists, which I think we're being retasked from cleaning out Zeratu's expansion up here that I don't think he ever really fully invested in from an infrastructure perspective, so now he ends up losing it due to the loyalists. But these loyalists should be able to get picked off pretty easily by the megalith. And Freedom finishing an experimental unit of his own, which I'm guessing is another megalith or actually a GC. He's got 2 megaliths down here and a GC. We're going to have to come back in and check on that. Zeratu sieging this base with his main megalith. And civilians getting ready to start committing genocide on each other at this point. Actually, never mind, there are bricks here that'll do the genocide for the engineers. As we might have to go to split screen here in a second. We're about to see a pretty decent air engagement here. Freedom's air, I think, going to get absolutely wiped off the map. But Snowy's got to be careful. Fighting two air forces, you almost inevitably end up exposing yourself to one of the air forces. And we've got a ton of strats as well coming in for Loaf that are unfortunately going to get caught by Snowy and Kavat's air. Several of them make it through, though. That megalith's pretty heavily damaged. Now is about time to go to split screen as the engagement is happening on 2 different fronts. One side led almost entirely by Kavat, while Kavat is also managing air. The other side led by Freedom on the land from a land perspective. 3 chickens here versus 2 megaliths and a GC. 1 megalith has already gone down. This should be a good defense here for team number 2, provided they don't lose too much infrastructure. The second crab going down. On the northern side, megalith is going to have to deal with these broadswords. There's a second megalith coming up now from Zeratu. Snowy, I think, is now 1 air as Kavat is having to deal with multiple different areas of fighting at the same time. So Snowy now in air control. But second chicken's going to go down. Third one very badly damaged. It's probably going to go down too. So we'll see if the lightning storm's able to pick up any kills on these bricks. Meanwhile, on the northern side, megalith getting kind of distracted with some targets that don't really matter as it's dealing with Tech 1 artillery. There, it takes out a couple of sniper bots with 1 shot, and Kavat actually did not lose air. I take that back. Still very much in the air play as reinforcements now come in, mostly in the form of Ilshivas and Tech 1 artillery in the north. In the south, GC and Bricks skirting the Ion Storms, going for Luff's forward base here, Furfur's old base. As the Megaliths trying to deal with the shields, this might actually have been like 5-head level play. It took them way longer to get through the bajillion Tech 2 shields than it probably would have if there were 3 or 4 Tech 3 shields. Although I don't know. Another science video idea. Megalith there for Kavat now shows up. But 2 very healthy Megaliths for Zeratu still. If they focus on the Megalith from Kavat, which is now having pathing issues, they should be in a pretty good spot from this push. Snowy once again engaging on air. Even Luff actually has got some ASF of his own. And another chicken shows up to square off against the GC, but the chicken just getting absolutely decimated by these bricks. Not even going to be able to take out the GC, and the GC actually gets a rank of vet off of that, which is about your worst case scenario. The Mega for Kavat utilizing the shield generators. Zeratu probably want to focus down these 2 shield generators, keep them from popping back on and adding to the effective HP of that Megalith. And Snowy has now shifted entirely to Tech 1 bomber production to take out this GC, although he's going to need a lot more bombers than that. GC still at 20,000 HP. Now threatening some of the Tech 3 mass extractors and getting kind of close to Snowy's core mexes here that have now been double capped with mass fabricators. And the GC seems to be healing and vetting faster than these Tech 1 bombers are able to take it down. As it drops below 20,000 HP once again. Now below 10,000 HP. As now there are 2 Megaliths here. One from Freedom, one from Kavat. And Zeratu, I guess, just got really split up on his target prioritization. So this push, I think, gonna peter out there. 2 Megaliths deposited on Kavat's doorstep for reclaim. And on the southern side, we've got Chicken, GC. Depending on whether they can secure this reclaim up here, we've got 3 more chickens and 2 Megaliths. So absolute loads of reclaim down here on the southern side of the map for the Team 2 is actually in a decent position to take if they want it. They just need to get some factories out there, and that's what you see out of Luff right now. But unfortunately, there is yet another Megalith. As we can go back to single screen now. Get the mini map turned back on. Yeah, so this Megalith and even a second Megalith gonna go a long way into securing this reclaim for Team 1. Team 1 just kind of slowly and methodically winning this, I mean, for lack of a better term, like trench warfare almost that is broken out here, where neither team is able to gain very much, even with these really, really costly pushes with and fights involving 5, 6, sometimes even 7 experimentals. But Team 2 just kind of gradually chipping away at the territory and doing a good job of saving the planet, making sure that all the garbage is cleaned up. Now we see a nuke coming out, and I think the nuke was going after either the experimentals or the reclaim, but would have liked to have seen that nuke a little bit further south if you wanted to do reclaim denial. Another chicken being deployed to deal with the bricks, and I think those were a couple of harbingers, yeah. Out from Freedom. This number of jesters should be able to make a decent dent in this mega as Freedom's Air Force comes in to protect as much as possible Snowy's Air Force all the way across the map. So these gunships are going to be left out to dry as that nuke detonates. I don't know how much, I don't think that actually connected really with anything important. Very unfortunate for Team 2. And these 2 Megaliths, again, not a whole lot whenever it comes to resistance down here. Only things even touching them right now from a damage perspective are 5 Tech 1 gunships. Loof and Zeratu and Snowy need to figure out an answer. They do have a chicken coming out. That's going to help a little bit. But the Megas, one of them decently damaged. One of them actually very heavily damaged, not decently damaged. So looking like Freedom not going to want to play this game for much longer. You can see how absolutely terrible the AA is on these things. It does exist, but it is very terrible anti-air on these megaliths. Although it's not really going to matter, as there's another 3 up here that's going to take out Zeratu's mega. And there's a chicken down here, or there was a chicken down here, I think, somewhere. There it is. Comes in, should be able to take out this first mega. And now we've got a Soul Ripper out from Zeratu, which is probably a decent play, because both Kavat and Freedom, because their attentions have been so split, and Snowy's been kind of laser focused on air. Kavat and Freedom have been struggling a little bit more in the air game, and I think this Soul Ripper and the chicken is going to be able to deal with the crabs. So once again, your chickens are suffering from a crab's infestation. I guess the answer is to hire an exorcist to rip their souls out of the crabs. And Freedom tries to go for a 1-pass there on the Soul Ripper, but ends up kind of in the worst of both worlds there, where he does no damage to the Soul Ripper and loses almost all of his ASF in the process. So that's kind of your worst case scenario there if you're trying to 1-pass an enemy air unit like a Zara or a Soul Ripper. Is you lose all your air and don't do any damage. Kavat, though, gonna do some pretty significant damage on this Soul Ripper and gonna kill it. Looking like he's gonna pay the price, though, of his air forces. Snowy's air just absolutely annihilates Kavat's ASF there. But, you know, Team 2 being dominant in the air is great, but you got to figure out a way to translate that to the ground game. And I think that's what they're trying to do with these Soul Rippers. We've got another one coming out from Zeratu. But needs more of them and need them quickly. Need to be able to use them in an offensive capacity instead of a purely defensive capacity. As the mass gap has actually widened a little bit. It's up a little bit over 200,000 mass. That's probably because of these wrecks that Freedom has been benefiting from. And gunships actually being brought in to try and kill off, I guess, the reclaim engineers. There is a SAM site here. Actually, a couple of SAM sites. And even with the kind of terrible AoE of the SAMs, these broadswords are clumped really, really close together. And you can start to see that AoE, even though it's limited, really pay off on these broadswords. There's about half of those broadswords going to go down to the SAM sites. Maybe I need to recant what I said on my Flak versus T3 AA video. Actually, no, I definitely don't. I'm always right. I can never do or say anything wrong, ever. That is 100% sarcasm. But broadswords doing everything that they can to just deal with the static AA that is getting built by Freedom really, really far forward. And up at the top, a new Soul Ripper, recently minted, gonna go to town. Actually bagged one crab down here, gonna take out another one too. So this is, I guess, how Team 2 kind of gets back into this game a little bit, is Soul Rippers. You know, I'd like to see an Ass Washer as well. You know, that'd be pretty good. Especially with the high AoE dealing with the amounts of Tech 3 units that you're seeing out on the field from Kavat and Freedom. Soul Ripper's great, but it's a little bit more single target oriented, I think, than the Ass Washer. So, you know, a mix of both the Soul Rippers and Ass Washers would do really, really well, especially when you've got this much mobile flak and lightning tanks and things like that. You need to be able to take those out kind of in one fell swoop, which is what an Ass Washer can give you. And you see that the single target damage here from Soul Ripper really struggling to focus these things down quick enough. and taking a huge amount of damage in the process. So yeah, I'd love to see an Awasa. They definitely have the tech for it. They've got Seraphim tech. I mean, they've been cranking Cox out like there's no tomorrow. As we see here, another one about to succumb to a crab's infestation. Although this time there is a Fat Boy and a Soul Ripper to help, so... And actually 2 more chickens down there. As well as gunships. And then just an absolute metric shit ton of mobile flak from Freedom. And Kavad, I just don't think has the ASF numbers to be able to deal with this right now. We can do a quick ASF count. 116 to Snowies, 22 Wasps, and yeah, almost 200 Gemini. So Snowy looking quite good on the ASF count side of things. But I mean, even with ASF domination, they're just struggling so much translating that into ground domination. There's I think maybe Team 1 just might be a little bit too far ahead here, as these Soul Rippers are taking huge amounts of damage from the ground-based AA. We've got 3 Soul Rippers. I think all were built in the last 5 minutes, and all 3 of them are down below 50 HP. Even some of them down below a third HP. And I have not really seen any ASF fight over these Soul Rippers. This has all been because of lightning tanks and mobile flak. And bouncers, I think, too. I think there have been bouncers in the mix as well. So, yeah, it might be just at a point for critical mass here for Team 1, where, I mean, they've got to respond in some fashion, but, I mean, every time you go in with these Soul Rippers, they lose more and more HP. Now all of them into the red, 2 of them down below 10k HP. This one will very soon be down below 10k HP. That one is going to go down. We have a Fat Boy trying to deal with a Megalith down there. I guess a Fat Boy can deal with crabs. Newly minted Soul Rippers. So that's 3 Soul Rippers now. And 2 Fat Boys as well on the ground. 1 Fat Boy, though, not being microed very well. And it's going to go down, I think, to this Megalith. And Snowy takes a really, really bad accidental, I think, air turn there. As Kavat now kind of forced to respond. They finally got rid of enough of this mobile flak. So Snowy actually bowing out as, I see. There's a Scathus that is online. So Scathus 3, Return of the Scathus. And it looks like that was the straw that broke the camel's back there for team number 2. And I think if it wasn't for that Scathus, I think they were getting to a point where it was starting to become a little bit more equalized. Because this was about to be a absolute massive amount of mass that gets dropped on their doorstep. They still have air control. The Soul Rippers doing quite well. Again, would have liked to have seen an Ass Washer get thrown in there too. But from a ground perspective, you know, that was about it from the experimental perspective for team number 1. And I think that might have been a turning point if it wasn't for the Scathus. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. As the last little air grid there for, I believe this was Dorset's original base, has now come under fire from the Scathus. Zeratu going to bow out after an attempted telly, looks like. Looks like he took out some of Freedom's air grid, but then there's, yeah, tons of triads. And it looks like T1 Bomber Spam was able to take him out. And that's going to be Loof that now bows out in this game. I genuinely think that Team 2, that was, if it hadn't been for the Scathus, I think that might have been more of a turning point for them. But either way, we'll never know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you know the drill, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.